Welcome back to the show where some random Norwegian guy on the internet teaches you how to save money on laundry. Yes! We did a poll 2 weeks ago where I asked you what you wanted to see next. And like 2/3 of you wanted to see how to save money on laundry out of like all the options I gave you. So this past week I've been hard at work. I've been putting together a list for you. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. And the first thing that I want to tell you is that it's always going to be cheaper to do laundry at home. There is no circumstance where it's going to be cheaper to go to a laundromat, use service or anything like that. So if you have the option to plug up your own washing machine, it's actually going to save you money over time compared to going to a laundromat. Now, that's not to say that this video isn't for you if you go to a laundromat. You're still going to get a bunch of useful tips, but this is going to focus on doing laundry at home, right? So I've pretty much broken this into like what will it cost to do laundry at home, and it's not easy to do it because it's going to vary a lot. Like some places electricity is expensive, some places water is expensive. Like in Chicago, water will cost like 20 cents for a wash, while in Seattle it's going to cost you 80 cents. But I have come up with a number of $1.28 as the average to wash clothes. I am also going to assume that you do laundry about 5 times a week as like my figure that we're going to work out from. So that will put us at $6.40 per week to wash clothes, or $25.60 per month, and $332.80 for a year. So I think if you use all these tips, we should be able to cut this in more than half. So yes, 20 minutes of your time and you are going to save $150. Or I shouldn't say you will, but you can if you implement all this. Let's jump into it. The cost breakdown for doing laundry is going to be electricity for your washer, which I've put at about 14 cents per wash. That's about 1 kilowatt at 14 cents. Also about 50 cents for running the dryer once. And we also have detergent, which comes in at about 40 cents for 1 load of Tide. And we need a dryer sheet for the dryer, which comes in at about 4 cents for one. And of course we have your water and sewage. Like I said, this is very hard to calculate, so I've just put it at a fixed 20 cents. And just know that it's going to vary a lot. Usually sewage costs is fixed as well, right? So it's not really going to affect your sewage. But yeah, just keep that in mind. And let's jump into the tips here where you are going to save your money. My first tips to you is going to be around the washing machine. And the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that, you know, where you adjust the temperature on your washing machine, if you turn it down all the way to cold water, you are going to save 70% electricity on your washer. So yes, that means when you run the washer, it's not actually the washer that uses the electricity. It's going to be your heater, or if you run this on gas, it's going to be gas bill. Either way, the washing machine itself usually only uses 30% of the electricity, and even that's like pretty high. It can be even lower. So that means that these 14 cents that you spend every time you wash your clothes will be able to be dropped down to about 4.2 cents. Quick savings there. Another thing I will say is that usually I like to cut the time of each load down as much as possible. And if you just have lightly soiled clothes and really things that don't smell very much, using cold water washes is totally fine. Like maybe 10% of the time you have something really soiled and dirty that needs like a little bit of a heated wash. But overall, just using the cold water wash is going to be totally fine, especially in combination with some of the other tips I'm going to give you. Also, you can try to use the quick wash if you just have something like this t-shirt, some underwear or something. Obviously you want to collect a full load before you wash the clothes, but that's also a great option. The quick wash is way underrated. Strongly recommend testing it out and see what results you get compared to using a full wash. Now my next tip is that you should fill your washer to full capacity every time you do your laundry. So how do I do that? Well, maybe you have like a favorite shirt that you like to wear, or maybe you do laundry every Saturday or something, you know, whether it's a full load or not. Well, I would try to caution you against doing this, because usually what ends up happening is that you don't get a full load each time. And you know what? The washing machine is going to spend just as much water, electricity, detergent, whether it's full or not. So what I started to do is that I found out how much laundry needed to be dirty for me to get a full load. And while it's hard to say how much this has cut down on my laundry costs, I would say that it's taken it from maybe, in the example we did 5 times a week, probably it has taken it down to about 4 times a week, so about 20%. Now this tip comes with like a big caution here. Don't overstuff your washer, especially not if you have a front loader as you know, the tub on the front loaders, what usually happens when you overstuff them is that it gets too much weight for what it's meant to hold, so it's gonna be pushed down and it's gonna wear on your washing machine over time. So you're much better off finding like the full capacity of your washing machine. It's going to depend a lot on the size and design of your washer. Usually they come from everything from like 5 kilo max all the way up to like 12, maybe even 13, maybe through 13 even if you have something industrial. I did an article on it last week, I think, and I can add that link down in the description if you want to find out what's the maximum amount of clothes you can put in your washing machine so that you can save a bunch of money on that. Here comes one of the best tips of all. And that is to switch from something like Tide over to something a little bit cheaper like Kirkland. You know, in our example, we used Tide. Full load of Tide usually costs around 40 cents for each wash. Just moving from Tide to Kirkland is going to take the cost from 40 to 30 cents. So only that is going to be a 25% savings. On top of that, I also strongly recommend that you try to cut down the amount of detergent you actually use. As you can see, this is the measuring cup that comes with my washing powder here, or washing liquid. So as you can see, the manufacturer has put a pretty big cup. This is about 40 milliliters. But what I recommend that you do is that you actually use half of this. Because you know, these manufacturers, they're pretty smart, and they know if we make a cup that's a little bit too big, actually that people will use a lot more detergent, which will bring us in more money. So it turns out that it's enough to use about half of this, actually, about 2 tablespoons or so. Usually these measure almost 3. I would wager that you could even go down to 1 if you're a little bit adventurous. But in that case, you probably want to add in a little bit of vinegar as well. Cutting it down in half will take the cost from 30 down to 15. So that's a 25 cents savings just there. It would be even cheaper if we make our own detergent, and there are some other alternatives like that, but I think that's a little bit out of the scope of this video. But if you're interested, I can show you how you can make your own detergent. Pretty cool, pretty simple. It's going to save you even more money. Now I'm going to try to find the best price for you. I don't remember where I found the best price, but I'm going to update it and just check the description. I'll add a link to it. Now talking about detergent, I also going to recommend a booster here for you, and that is vinegar. Yes, vinegar. You can buy like really big tubs of really pretty washed out vinegar, or like diluted vinegar, for pretty cheap. It's just going to cost you like $3 or $4, something like that. And then you have like a year's supply. Why vinegar, you might ask? Well, the fact is that vinegar is a fantastic laundry booster. Not only does it help remove smell, like it doesn't smell at all when it's done washing. It also helps fluff up the clothes. It's great for washing clothes. There is one big note here though, don't mix it together with your laundry detergent. What you want to do is you put your vinegar where you would usually put your fabric softener. So for vinegar, what I like to do is that this is the washing powder, right? So I will load the washing powder on here, and not the pre-wash one, we generally don't want to use that. In the fabric softener loader, I will add just a little bit of vinegar. Usually a spoon is more than enough. This is too strong, so I have to dilute it a lot. 5% stuff, usually a spoon, and I can add a spot of water too. You can even do 2 spoons if you have something that's maybe a little bit more smelly. If you mix them together, they're just going to neutralize each other, because vinegar is acidic, while generally you will find that laundry detergent is a base. So mixing them just creates a huge mess. Don't try. If you have a top loader and you have a tray, that's best. Otherwise, wait till the cycle with the detergent is done, and then you put the vinegar in after, so they don't mix. Never mix. So this is so cheap. I'm gonna find like the cheapest one. I think it was on Walmart, but I'm gonna double check. And the cost added to use vinegar in each of your laundry loads is just 2.7 cents. So it's like no brainer, especially since you've reduced the amount of detergent you use. This is a great addition, but it does increase the cost a little smidge. Now, moving on for detergent here, we are going to talk a little bit about drying clothes. Yes, that's a thing as well. And it's actually a pretty expensive thing. Only the electricity that is spent on drying clothes is usually 50 cents, which is outrageous. So what I am going to recommend that you do is invest in a drying rack. Yes, you heard me right, a drying rack. You don't need to use the drying rack every time. But what I have found out is that I usually do a couple of loads of laundry on the same day. So what I will do is I use the drying rack about 50% of the time. Now, what this is going to do is that it's going to cut drying costs in half, basically. You have the little upfront cost of the drying rack or maybe a line to dry outside, but you're going to save it in so fast. 50 cents each time. I mean, you save it in a couple of months. I'm going to find something usable for you on Amazon, what I would recommend. I did a video on how to use a drying rack in the past, a couple of years ago, so you can check that out as well if you're interested. But like the gist of it is that you need to place the drying rack somewhere with a little bit of circulation or at least some heat. I recommend a fan if you don't have any circulation in the room. That's a great option. You can also try putting the clothes outside on a drying rack. Just be aware that you need to take them inside if it starts raining, because otherwise it's going to take forever to dry them if you just get them wet again outside. Now, why half, you might ask? Well, what I have found, for me personally, I like to do 2 loads of laundry at the same time. Usually it's something like 1 load of blacks or 1 load of whites, maybe a load of wool, but usually I just do 2 at once, because that way I can run a quick load in the washing machine first. Then I can take that load out. Usually that is like the blacks, the colored clothes, and I will put that in the dryer. And then I'll take the other load, usually like a white or wool, and I'll wash that next, and I'll take that out. But the thing is, like, the dryer is going to take a lot longer to finish than what the washing program is, if you follow my tips. So this second load, I'm going to take them and put them on the drying rack. That way I can dry everything at the same time, kind of, without having the dryer being the bottleneck of the situation. So yeah, doing that, I'm gonna save you 50% of the cost on drying just outright. Building on this, I am also going to recommend that you just cut out dryer sheets 100%. You may like the smell, but to be frank, I'm going to recommend that you cut them out, because the vinegar that you have added to your washer is going to have a lot of the same effects, you know, like fluffing up the clothes a little bit, and it's going to be odorless, which many think is great. If you really like it, I guess, you could keep using the dryer sheets, but it's just a waste if you ask me, since the vinegar does the same thing. What I would do instead is that I would take these costs, usually a yearly cost of dryer sheet will be about $20, and I would take that money and I would invest them in a set of wool dryer balls instead. Now, what are wool dryer balls? Now, essentially they're just balls of wool that you put into your dryer in place of the dryer sheets, and these balls are going to also help like jump around, fluff up the clothes a lot. In addition to this, they usually help increase the drying process by up to 25%, which is crazy. So the savings there are also, like, these start paying for themselves compared to the dry sheets, which just costs. Now, I've been looking around to find some good deals. I've actually done so much research on this over the past month, and I think I found the best deal, and I'm going to link it for you down below. You can check out. It's a pretty good price, I would say, and also it's going to pay for itself in a year, so like there is no loss here. Yeah, there is just savings. So wool dryer balls, #1 for drying. Now, in addition to using these wool dryer balls and using the drying rack, there is another thing that we can do that's pretty cool to decrease the electricity cost of running the dryer. So, much like the washing machine, the dryer also uses most of the electricity on just heat, right? So just out of pure logic, reducing that heat to closer to like base temperature in the room is gonna help save on electricity costs. So crank it down to the lowest option, and you're gonna see a bunch of savings on top of those that you already have. This usually works out so that if you do multiple loads of laundry at the same time, the dryer is not gonna be done by the time the washer is done. But that's perfect, since you then can use the drying rack, right? And then you have one situation where the dryer is drying. If you have towels or something, like I always like to dry my towels in the dryer because I like them fluffy. I found that if I use them on the drying rack, they usually come out a little bit stiff, even if I use the vinegar. I've tried everything. Usually just the dryer is the best option for towels. So I usually run 1 load with the dryer whenever, and 1 load on the drying rack. So yeah, that's a good tip there, and that's going to help you save so much. Now, there are a couple other cool settings that you can use on your dryer depending on which model you have. One is called a cool down setting, and what that essentially does is that it takes all the heat that's in the dryer and it keeps drying until that heat is used up. So once the dryer is done and you open up the dryer, your clothes inside will be cold, which kind of sucks. I know I like to put on like the hot clothes out of the dryer. But if you want to save electricity, use the cool down setting, and the dryer will actually efficiently use up all the heat before it lets the clothes out of the dryer. Now, in addition to this, you may have something called a dry sensor on your dryer. Now what this does is essentially it just stops the dryer once the clothes are dry. Whenever you're looking to buy a new dryer, at least try to find something that has a dryer sensor. Also, I strongly recommend finding both a washer and a dryer really that has an Energy Star mark. This is going to save you so much money over time. Usually you find that they are a little bit more expensive, not always, but often. But they pay for themselves over time in just savings. And also, if you're going to buy a new washing machine, always buy front loaders. Oh my lord, I can't tell you how much money you're going to save. They use like half the water of a top loader. They use way less electricity. Another important thing is that you always clean your lint filter. Usually you get away with cleaning it maybe every other week, every month or so. But if the lint filter isn't clean, the dryer is going to be way less efficient, and also it's kind of a fire hazard, so always clean your lint filter. Also recommend you to clean your washer and even dryer occasionally. Run a cleaning cycle on your washer. It's going to make it last longer, keep it nice and clean, and you will have that washer for a longer time. I also have articles on this on the website, I can link that as well. Yes, I'm kind of a washing nerd. Okay, so the last big tip that I'm going to give you, okay, and that is to sign up for a time of day program. Now this is going to help you save so much money on electricity over time. What is a time of day program, you may ask? Well, essentially what it is that depending on how much electricity is being used at the time, that's going to make the prices vary. So if there is a high demand for electricity, like when people are at work or like when they get home from work, usually the energy prices are going to surge. And around those times, usually the electricity prices are much lower. So when you sign up for one of these programs, you will usually find that your electricity is a lot cheaper during the night, usually after like 8, 9, maybe even 10 p.m. is a great time to do laundry. Otherwise, a great time to do it is early when you wake up, before everybody wakes up and you start using electricity. Now this is going to vary a lot on where you live. Like here in Europe now, it's just insane. Like the electricity prices because of the war is just spiked. Like sometimes of the day it's like over $1 per kilowatt. It's just yeah, that's another story. But yeah, this has made a lot of people aware of like electricity prices throughout the day. And if you start doing laundry at night, never do laundry while you're sleeping, by the way. Don't put the washer or dryer on and go to bed. That's big fire hazard. Same thing, don't turn it on and leave the house or anything like that. But doing laundry in the evening, a little bit before you go to sleep, is a fantastic option. And this is going to encourage you to use your drying rack as well. So then you can run a washing cycle a little bit before you go to bed. Put your clothes on the drying rack and put on a fan or some heat or something, and usually it's going to be dry and nice by the morning. So now that you've got all the tips and you're ready to implement it, how much do you think that you will be able to save each time you do laundry? Well, if you implement all of this, you're going to be able to take your cost from $1.28 for each wash down to 61.9 cents per wash, which means that this example we have used is going to be able to cut their laundry costs by more than half. And that's just the tips. That's like the big substantial cost. It's probably going to be even more than this, to be honest. So yeah, pretty big savings overall, I'd say, just in a couple of easy, quickly implementable tips you can use. Now, if you are able to use the full loads as well, you should be able to cut the amount of washes you actually do down 20% or so. Now, there are going to obviously be a couple of extra costs as well. You need to buy the dryer racks, which is going to be $20, $30. The wool dryer balls, probably another 20 or so. Vinegar is going to be like $3, $4. And also, next time you buy laundry detergent, obviously buy one that is cheaper. Yeah, I'm going to link all these down below. I do appreciate if you use my links to buy it, as it will support the channel a little bit, especially the dryer balls. In addition to this, if this has been like a huge just information overload, I have put together kind of a cheat sheet with all the most money-saving ways to do laundry over at organizing.tv/cheat sheet. Just sign up for the newsletter and then I'll send you the cheat sheet like instantly. I'll put it up so that it sends out automatically once you sign up there. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. Obviously it's been like it's been a lot, but it's really good to be back making videos for you guys. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one and I'll see you next time.